Hey everybody, and welcome back. It's Jessica here, and I wanted to share with you my experience with the naturopathic doctor that I saw this week. In doing so, I hope to help others out there who are doing research and they're trying to find other alternatives for seeking out healing for whatever chronic diseases they've got, for whatever symptoms that they're trying to find relief from, and their doctors just aren't quite cutting it. And let me start off by saying I've been seeing a general practitioner for well over a year, going on 2 years now, trying to get symptom relief from my digestive problems. And was diagnosed with IBS and GERD, and I have been suffering with those symptoms severely over the past almost year and a half now. And with that said, I have finally reached a point where I'm not getting any relief taking any medications that are prescribed to me by my doctor. I'm not seeing any symptomatic relief over this long period of time. And in fact, I'm actually seeing a progression. My symptoms are getting worse. They're getting more severe, and things are not improving for me. This led me to seek out other alternatives for treatment. And I mentioned that in my introduction video that I was trying to find more less medical approaches to treating my symptoms. There has to be a way to get relief from this chronic disease without taking on more medication that's just not doing it. In fact, some of the research I've learned is that one of the medications that I've currently been prescribed to take, and after talking with my GP, he's even told me that you're going to have to take this the rest of your life, causes liver damage, causes uptake in my symptoms, as well as just generating overall bad health. In fact, I would not be surprised if I saw some sort of class action lawsuit come out in the next 5 years against this company over this, given the research that I've done. But that's not really important. What I want to talk about today is my visit with the naturopathic doctor. So that was something that I had heard about through a friend. We were discussing some of her things that have been going on with her as far as her digestive issues. What ended up happening was she sought out a naturopathic doctor, and the naturopathic doctor got her on some supplements, changed her diet up, did some research into her food sensitivities, and found a way to help her find healing holistically. And it did help her. So it got me thinking. And when I got home from my visit with her, I started my research on naturopathic doctors. Never even heard of them before. And my very first research led me to one that was in my area. And I called this doctor and I made an appointment, and the closest they could get me in was January 28th. And I'm like, that's 2 months away. And I've been dealing with this for a long time. And so 2 months is a long time to wait. So I thought, okay, maybe there's somebody else. And then I talked to some other people in my life that know a little bit about this, and they suggested finding one that specifies in gut health. And I did find one like that in Tulsa. And so I made an appointment with him, and I managed to get in last Wednesday, which I mentioned in my previous video. So with that said, let me tell you a little bit about how that went. The very first thing that happened was he scheduled an appointment with me to have a 15-minute free consultation over the phone. And he kind of listened to why I was needing him, why I called in the first place. And then he explained to me a little bit about what he does and how it's different from your regular medical physicians. And then from there, he kind of talked about some of the testing that he was going to provide and my options as far as proceeding with the treatments and therapies at that point. The next thing we did was set up an appointment. And that appointment was last Wednesday, and I went into his office. And when I got there, I had to fill out, actually before I even went, I had to fill out this huge medical questionnaire that talked about my entire history. I had to write an essay, if you will, which may seem a little daunting, but it really wasn't that bad. When you've reached a point where all you want is healing, and you don't really care what that entails, you'll write an essay to discuss why you feel the way that you feel, or what do you think caused it. Then when I went into the visit, it took about an hour and a half for the first consultation. And let me just say, naturopathic doctors are not cheap. They're not covered by insurance, so I'm doing all of this out of pocket. My husband is very supportive in this area because he's watched me basically spiral downhill. We were engaged. Actually, we weren't even engaged yet when I first got ill. And so first had my first serious episode and ended up in the ER. So he's watched me go through this hard stuff, and he stayed with me, and then we got engaged and we got married. And just looking at our past, he's very supportive of how I move forward. So we discuss all of these financial things when we're doing this, but just so that you're not surprised when you call one, they are not usually covered by insurance. The testing's not covered by insurance either, unless I can talk one of my doctors into doing it. I go in to meet with this guy, and we sit down, and he starts reviewing kind of my medical history. He starts asking me a bunch of questions, things that I would never thought would have had an impact, like if I was a cesarean birth or if I was breastfed, those sorts of things. He also asked me about the very first time I ever got ill. He asked me about my ER visits. He looked over, I had to send him some lab work that I had done over the past year, so he looked over all of that testing to see what I was scoring in, what ranges they were giving me as too high or too low. And then he proceeded to start informing me on what he does, how he approaches the next step. And then from there, he was talking about, he even kind of did some in-house testing just to kind of look for some markers and some triggers that would kind of give him a direction on what next steps to take. So sitting down with him, he was very personable. He actually made a couple jokes while I was sitting there looking at my history. We spent a lot of time talking. I had done so much research up to this point that there was a lot of things that he didn't have to educate me on, which was kind of nice for both of us. But he did walk me through some things. When I first walked in, I took a urine test to see if there was inflammation in the cell walls in my body. And apparently that has a lot to do with some gut health. I'm still doing research on that and learning about that. But that has a lot to do with how your body removes toxins. If your cells are not healthy, they have a hard time removing toxins from the body. I triggered really high in toxicity on a lot of my organs, including the ones that are responsible for removing toxins, the liver, the kidneys, all those things that are responsible for removing toxins out of your body. And I already knew my liver was kind of in bad shape from other testing I'd done last year through my medical GP. But my medical doctor is not providing any solutions. He's merely trying to treat the symptoms, and the drugs that he's prescribed me, some of their side effects are symptoms that I'm already experiencing. And so they're not helping. In fact, they may actually be compounding the issue and making things worse. In the meantime, we talked about getting me off a very dangerous drug that I was taking that is an over-the-counter medication. I'm still doing my research on that, but everything I've found so far says that I've been taking Prilosec, is what the drug is, the omeprazole. I've been taking that for years. I didn't take it all the time. I wasn't taking it regularly, but over the past year, my doctors encouraged me to take it every day. The last time him and I had a conversation about it, I asked him, how long am I supposed to be taking this drug? Because I'd already started learning some of the bad or the negative side effects that you can have from this drug, and some of the damage. I took a test that showed that I had my liver was fatty. And that is one of the things that is popping up on this omeprazole, is that your liver suffers from taking it. It actually causes some serious detriment to it, or can. And so what I asked him was, how long am I supposed to be taking on this? Knowing good and well that I don't want to be on this if this is causing more liver damage. Knowing that my body is struggling in my liver, knowing that there are already problems there, I wanted to get off of it. And to have him tell me, you're going to be on this the rest of your life, is just very frustrating. So back to my appointment with the naturopath. We sat down, he went over a lot of different things. He tested me for a couple of things. He noticed some triggers. He also, or red flags into my health. He looked at my fingernails, of all things, saw some things that could point to signs of like autoimmune disease. He also said that I might have something called SIBO, which I have done no research on, so I'm doing research on that. But basically, it's a bacteria overgrowth in your small intestine, and that can be causing my symptoms. He said I could very well have IBS, but 65% of the patients he sees that report having IBS don't actually have that. They've got some other issue going on, and once you treat the other issue and get rid of that, then the symptoms go away. So fingers crossed that that's what happens for me with this guy and with my treatment. After talking with him for an hour and a half, going over all this medical and scientific information, talking about all these things that could possibly be playing a role, we also talked about my estrogen and how my hormones could be off. He then sent me a list 2 days after that of tests that that he recommends that I go have done. These tests are, again, not covered by insurance, and they are expensive. So I'll update you guys and let you know what those things are going to be when I know. And I will also keep you posted on how my treatment goes. But once he has those test results, then he's going to put together a health plan that will probably formulate things that will include diet changes, potentially supplements. He definitely wants me to detox because I am showing toxicity within a couple different organs of my body, as well as some of the testing he did points to the possibility of some toxins in my bloodstream. So just some simple triggers. He didn't do anything medical to confirm yet, and that's what these tests are supposed to be doing. So once I have all that, I'll come back with an update on that. But yeah, check back with me next week, see what's going on. I have another video I'm going to try to put out later this week. Got some vacation time, so I'm doing a little R&R with my husband. It should be an overall good week. If you've had an experience with a naturopathic doctor, please share that in the comments below. I'd love to read about them and just kind of hear where everybody else is coming from. There's a lot of research out there, a lot of data out there that talks about how naturopathic doctors work or don't work. There's some that are a little hippy-dippy. They do some things that are a little out of the ordinary. So hopefully this guy's a little bit more on point. He's been in the business for a really long time. I think he said 45 years plus at this point that he's been doing, in 43 years that he's been practicing in Tulsa. So I'm looking forward to this. He does specialize in a brain-gut connection is what he called it. And I've done some research on that too. It's a little, not well versed enough in it to kind of explain. But again, if you have any comments about a naturopathic doctor that maybe you've seen, or just some of your ideas about it, or if you've been searching, what have you been searching? What are some less medicinal treatments that you've been working on? I've started using essential oils. I've used essential oils for a long time, but now I'm specifically using them for gut health. So if you have any tips, tricks, or any other advice that you'd like to give or share with the people who are following along, please post that in the comments below. Also, if you have any other questions about the naturopathic doctor that maybe I can answer, go ahead and post those down below. And if I don't know, I'll go hunt it out for you. So with that, thanks for watching, and God bless.